Hi, my name is Laura, and welcome to this course, Magazine Cover Design in InDesign. A catchy magazine cover is a great way to boost your sales and attract audience. A well-designed magazine cover is orchestrated by a number of different elements that create curiosity about what's inside the magazine. In this course, we will take a look at the different elements that make up a magazine cover, how to choose suitable fonts and striking photos, how to edit ready-to-print magazine cover templates from Envato elements that can save you tons of time, and how to design a fashion magazine cover and a sports magazine cover for specific audience. You will learn how to set up and design all the different elements in a magazine in a unified manner to create an excellent magazine cover. So let's get started. Hi there, and welcome to this magazine cover design in Adobe InDesign course. An effective magazine cover includes many different elements, and the challenge lies in making them all work together. In this lesson, I'll show you the different elements, terminology, and their impact this creates on the reader. So the cover of a magazine is the most important opportunity for you to sell your publication to readers. And the best magazine cover layout design grabs attention and is visually striking, stands out from the rest. A good combination of elements will make the perfect magazine cover. As you can see, there are many elements that make up a magazine cover template, so let's expand these and learn about the impact they make. If you have ever wondered how to design your own magazine cover, it is best to start with the masthead. This element is one of the most important on the cover of a magazine. This is where the branding becomes important. It has to be the most consistent element throughout the publication's issues. This is how your reader will recognize the magazine on stands. The masthead should be the largest font size that will exist in the magazine, and it should be consistent in size and placement as well as in colors, but sometimes you will see this change from issue to issue. Next up is the dateline. This is the month, year, and issue number of the publication. Sometimes the price will also be included here, and depending on the publishing frequency, some magazines may use the month and the year. Quarterly magazines will use the season and the year. Under the masthead, we have the magazine deck. And not all magazines have a deck, but it can be useful to describe the magazine's philosophy or the type of publication. The deck is usually only a few words long, and it should be concise and to the point. Next, we have the main image, and this can be a photograph or an illustration. That's depending on the main story of the magazine and the art direction. Low-quality images can really ruin a magazine cover, so many magazines set up special photo shoots or commission illustrators to create a unique cover and use conceptual images. Next, we have lead article line. Every magazine has a main theme for the issue, and that makes the lead article line on a cover. Try to emphasize the lead article line by using a slightly different font that goes with the theme. You can also use different colors that complement the imagery and adjust the size to have more prominence on the cover. Next up, we have cover lines, and this is optional depending on the magazine and how minimalist the cover is. When it comes to the placement of the cover lines, aim for balance. Cover lines are set at a smaller point size compared to the lead article. The cover line topics can revolve around the main theme of the magazine, but not necessarily. Cover lines should have no more than 10 words and must be concise. And the last couple of items we have is website link. So the rise of digital devices gave room for magazines to extend their contact on their websites. This is to remind customers where they can find the magazine online or any other social media channels. And the last item is price and barcode. Barcodes are taken care of by the printing house, but you do have to make sure to leave room for them. Their placement is at the bottom left corner of the cover, sometimes on the spine, and this space can also include the price of the magazine. So to know the anatomy of a magazine cover is absolutely essential, not only to drive sales up, but also to be able to make an impact within our society. Now that you understand the job of every element in a magazine cover, it's time for us to jump into how to choose a cover image. So we'll see you on the next lesson. Hi, and welcome back to this course, Magazine Cover Design in InDesign. Choosing the right image for a magazine cover can be a daunting task. The right image needs to be relevant, strong, and eye-catching. In this lesson, we will take a look at image composition and how to find a focal point that will enhance your magazine cover. We know that creating magazine covers can turn into a real challenge, especially if you don't have much experience. So if you're facing time or budget limits, make sure to check out Envato Elements and 2020. These two have a very extensive library of stock photos, print templates and presentation templates, fonts. 2020 has additional photos that can enhance your projects with authentic real-world photography. So here in Envato Elements, we can head over to Photos. We have lots of choices. And I really like this image actually, so I'll add it to my collection. And actually, I have already created my collection. So here I can head over to my profile, my collections, and I've already put together a few images that I like. If you're not sure about an image, this is a great way to sort of narrow it down. So let's talk about this fashion image that I have selected here. And the reason why this image would be really good for a cover magazine is one, the color. We have this really intense red. Second is the pose. The subject has a really strong upper body pose. In addition to that, we have room on each side of the subject. So that would allow us to use these two sides for cover lines. While there isn't enough room at the top for a masthead, we could use Photoshop to extend the top a little bit more. Next, we have this other beautiful image, and here the subject is looking towards the left. Ideally, we want our subject to be looking towards the right because that's how you open a magazine, but this could be easily flipped. What makes this image really strong is that the subject is occupying one side of the image while the opposite is completely blank, so that would allow for maybe a minimal cover design. So we have looked at color, pose. Next, we have how interesting the image is. For instance, this image is very experimental, so it would draw a lot of attention at a magazine stand. This would also make a really good minimal magazine cover where you would just put the masthead at the top and some simple lines at the bottom. So far, I've shown you portrait photos. If you end up having to work with a landscape photo, make sure that you have room on both sides to crop the image if your magazine is portrait. Here you can see that the subject is nicely lit and the background is dark, so there is a focal point here. The subject is also in movement, so it adds some kind of dynamic to the cover. Another option, if the masthead doesn't fit at the top of the image, you could place it sideways. And last, we have this image of an athlete, and he is again looking towards the left, so we could easily flip this image to have him look towards the right. He has a very strong body pose and is nicely lit as well. And the way we could play around with this is that we have one side completely open or free to put our cover lines or even a masthead. So try to choose images that aren't that busy, or if they are busy, that the background is dark. You'll notice that all of these photos are set up photo shoots, none of these are spontaneous photos. And that's probably the best that you can go with when you're designing a magazine cover. In the next lesson, we will be looking at fonts, the last but not least element of a cover design. So I'll see you there. Hi there, and welcome to this course, Magazine Cover Design in InDesign. In this lesson, we will take a look at fonts. Choosing the right typeface and imagery is crucial when designing a magazine cover, so clear and clean typefaces are best. Not only, but the use of bold, italics, and different sizes and colors can emphasize certain cover lines. So let's take a look at the Envato Elements library and some examples of great fonts suitable for magazine cover design. So Envato Elements doesn't only have stock photos, they also have fonts, and they have an amazing library. You can refine the search by choosing large display fonts, or only serifs, or only sans serifs. So the way that I like to work with the fonts with Envato Elements is through the collections option. So I'll collect all the fonts that I like and the ones that would be suitable for the project that I'm working with. Now, the great thing about Elements is that it allows you to download and try out as many fonts as you want. And you can do that by downloading the fonts without a license. And after you've decided which font is suitable for your project, you can go back and license that specific font for a specific project. So for a single fee, you have access to a big library of fonts, stock photos, print templates that you can try out and then license the asset that is perfect for your project. This is Roger and Laviana, and this is a beautiful serif font with high contrast between thick and thins, so it looks very elegant. So it's classic, at the same time it's modern, and it has some really cool ligature options. Next we have Checkers, and this is a classic sans serif with a twist. It also has some awesome ligatures, and ligatures can be really helpful when designing a magazine cover because essentially you're designing separate cover lines to be attractive to the reader, but at the same time everything has to work together. Next we have Monstron, and this is a very minimalist sans serif. It is gorgeous, it's very elegant and modern. It is a little bit quirky but sleek. This is sort of an all-purpose font, so it can fit really any type of magazine. Next we have Consent. So if you're looking for a Vogue style magazine where the contrast between thick and thins is really big and the serifs are really thin, this is that typeface. So perfect for editorial, it has very special features, and it will make your magazine look very elegant. Now let's go to a different style of font, and this is a very high impact condensed sans serif. If you pair this font with any of the ones that we previously mentioned, you could make it work for a fashion magazine, but if this is your main font, it would definitely apply to something more sporty. It is really thick and sharp. Next we have Origin, and this is more of a retro modern sans serif. Sans serifs work really good as large fonts because they attract a lot of attention and sort of they're imposing, so it's amazing for a masthead. A font that is a little bit, let's say, normal is Hando. This neo-grotesque font has a big range of possibilities. It has a low X height, large family, so it's really good for long body copy, but also as display font. So you could pair this with one of the serifs that we showed at the beginning. And last we have Lufka. Lufka is a geometric sans serif font. It is simple, sophisticated, it has a lot of personality, so for a masthead it would really communicate the style of the magazine. And to me this says fresh, trendy. And it actually is a perfect Futura substitute. So now that we've talked you through the important elements and basics of a magazine cover design, we are ready to design our own. In the next lesson, we will take a look at how to design a magazine cover with a template. So we'll see you there. Hi there, and welcome to this course, Magazine Cover Design in Adobe InDesign. Envato Elements has thousands of assets including magazine covers. In this lesson, we will take a look at some of these assets and how to choose a suitable magazine cover template. So let's head over to Envato Elements, head over to Graphic Templates and Print Templates. And here you will have a variety of templates for really any type of projects, posters, flyers, invitations, but we're looking for something specific, and that is magazine cover. And we have plenty of options. There are different styles geared towards sports, hobbies, business. Other magazines are more minimal, so that would be perfect for fashion. So let's open this one up. This one has InDesign and Photoshop available, so let's open that one as well. And then let's open an interior design. So here we can take a look. This one is Madeline Magazine template. Perfect if you have a lot of photos to display and you're looking for something airy. And actually this one also includes the interior pages. Next we have Creative Magazine cover template. And this one is super easy to edit because you would just have to change the image in the back and the cover lines. And then we have this interior magazine cover template. This template is a little bit different. It has the masthead at the bottom and the cover lines towards the top. And this is the one that I'll be using. Before we start editing the magazine cover template, we need to find an image. For that, we can head over to Photos. We have plenty of images here, but I want an interior design image. Here we can filter by orientation, and I want it to be portrait. There are some great images like this. They're very simple. And we can use the same function of saving in the collections. So here I'll save it. Head over to my profile, collection, and here's the image that I want to use. So if you're not sure about the image yet, you can download without a license and try it out. But I'm sure about this one, so I'll go ahead and license it. So to choose a magazine cover template, you have to keep in mind of the type of magazine that you're working with. Is it a fashion magazine? Is it a business magazine? Well, you can change the colors and some of the fonts. You want to keep it very short because by using a template, you're actually saving time. And that's the good thing about Envato Elements, is that they offer all kinds of magazine cover templates that are ready to print. All you have to do is maybe change out the picture of the background and customize it with your own cover lines, and you're good to go. Okay, so now that we know how to choose a magazine cover template and image from Envato Elements, let's take a look at how to edit a magazine cover template in InDesign. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Hi there, and welcome to this course, Magazine Cover Design in InDesign. In this lesson, we will take a look at how to edit a cover template from Envato Elements using the image that we found there and adding our custom cover lines. So I've created a folder here on my desktop, and I have the template that we downloaded from Envato Elements and the image that we found there as well. I want to use the InDesign file, so I'll double click here to open it. So here we have our template, and the only thing that I want to do here is to add another layer and name it background, so that way I can lock in the image there and not move it when I'm editing the top. So select the background. Let's head over here to our folder and drag the image. And I want to just position this on the cover. Let's resize this slightly. And I want to press W here to show you the bleed marks on the document. So when you're printing this cover, you need to have some bleed marks, so that way you have some leadway and not have any white lines, and that would be the paper showing through. So basically this is a forgiveness line when the magazine is getting cut. So we have that perfect. I want to open my swatches panel. If you don't have that open, head over to Window, Color, Swatches. I'll select the masthead and I'll create a new swatch here to something a little bit different. Make sure that you have the preview box checked so you can see the changes as you're making them. And something a little mustard. Perfect, so click OK. And I want to match the rest of the elements to that color. So I'll match the background here, the 20% off, this text as well, and I'll change it really quickly. You can move things around very slightly. Like I said, the whole point of this is that it's time saving. So you don't really need to do much to it because it is already good. Change the color of the date. And then I want to make this black. I don't want this to be too imposing. I want the typography to speak. Let's change the text. Color to white. We have our customized cover template. Now, if you want to send this over to print, press Command E to export. I'll choose here Adobe PDF Print. Click Save. Make sure that the preset is High Quality Print. Check all printers mark. Use document settings. That will be the 3mm that we saw with the red line. Click Export. Let's just double check that our file is exported correctly, and there we have it. So we have all the lines that we need for the magazine to be trimmed with our bleeds, just in case, all ready to go. So we went from a basic cover template and customized it to something that is ready for the press. And that only took us just a few minutes. So Envato Elements, like I said, is a really great resource for assets with high quality print templates, stock photos. You can find everything in one place. So now that we know how to edit a cover template, we can start our own magazine cover from scratch. In the next lesson, we will learn how to set up an InDesign file for a magazine cover, and that will be the base for our fashion magazine cover. So I'll see you there. Hi, and welcome to this magazine cover design in InDesign course. In this lesson, we will take a look at how to set up a basic InDesign file for a magazine cover design. So let's head over to InDesign, create new, and for this magazine, I want to set it up as an A4 magazine. I want to change the units to millimeters just because it is easier to measure. Set the orientation to portrait. For this, we can uncheck facing pages because we will only be designing the cover. Set the margins to 12mm. And let's add a bleed of 3mm. So click on create. So the bleed is just a buffer outside of the magazine, and this is where the background image is going to extend to. So when the magazine goes to print and it's time to trim, we'll make sure that the image will bleed off the page, avoiding any white lines from the actual paper. Head over to the layers panel, and I just want to set myself up for success. I want to add a couple of layers that will help me divide parts of the cover so I can freely edit without worrying if I am going to accidentally delete something. So add a new layer. Let's name layer number 1 as our background. This is where the image will be added. Layer number 2 will be text, or we can change it to cover line. And the last layer will be magazine name or masthead. And that's it. So now we have the base for our magazine cover. In the next lesson, we will apply everything we've learned from the different components of a magazine and our images and fonts and bring it all together. So we'll see you there. Hi, welcome to this course Magazine Cover Design in InDesign. In this lesson, we will design a fashion magazine cover. We will apply everything that we learned about the different components of a magazine cover, fonts, images, and bring it all together. We'll create an eye-catching cover that is not only beautiful, but effective in communication. And Envato Elements is really useful when it comes to all kinds of different assets, because with a single subscription, you can get fonts, templates, photos, graphic templates, all in one place. So it has everything that you need to create anything for your project. So let's start with our magazine cover design. Here on my desktop, I've created a folder with everything that I need, the image that I need, and the 2 fonts that I'll be using. To install the font, you can unzip the file and drag the files into your font manager. The 2 fonts that I'll be using are Roger Laviena and Zoom. So let's drop our image here and resize it to fit our bleeds. Head over to the layers panel and click here towards the right to transfer the element to the background. Let's make sure that we're hitting all the bleeds. For this, I just want to resize the frame and then press A to use the direction selection tool. And here I just want my subject to be looking the opposite side because that's the side that the magazine will be open. So head over to the toolbar and hit the flip horizontal button. And once we're happy with that, lock the layer so nothing moves around. Click on the magazine name. And here I want to add the name of magazine will be Savant. So I'll select the font, Roger Laviena. I'll set the masthead to around 130 and then I can resize if I need to. I'll use the kerning, set that to 50 so there is a little bit of room in between each character. And here I'm just looking to move the masthead as high as I possibly can, while working at the same time with the background image so it doesn't create weird spaces between the characters and the subject. So I'm happy with that. Next, I'll add the dateline and the website. I'll set the dateline and the website to 11 points. So I'll set that to something legible like Zoom. I'll add a special character that will be a bullet character. And then the website. Just want to resize the masthead a little bit. Duplicate the masthead. Transfer it to the cover lines and lock the magazine name. And here I will start adding cover lines. Add the name of the subject and set it to 90 points. I'll change the style to medium and letter space to 0. Let's change the line spacing here to something a little bit tighter. And I want this to be over the top of the subject so that way there's some more dimension. So let's duplicate this and set it to 30 points to add a descriptive text and the letter spacing to 24. So let's change the color here, add a new swatch, and I want something a little more cyan. Click OK. To make this a unity, I'm going to try and get it as close as possible to the bigger text. And here I'm just adjusting some little details. Duplicate the cover line. Let's add something new here. Set it to white. So the first line is going to be small and the second line we're going to change to a different font, and we're going to use Roger Laviena because it's such a beautiful serif font. And here I want to use the ligatures. So if you don't know what ligatures are a union of two characters that have been specifically designed to look nice. So here let's take a look at what it would look like without ligatures. So I want to make this bigger. Add some line spacing. And I think I prefer it with ligatures. It just looks more interesting for a cover design. Let's change this to 24. Duplicate the cover lines one more time. And here I just want to make a play with the sizes and the cover line. So let's make this bigger. Press Option and either the arrow up or down to add or take line spacing. So let's move this a little bit higher. And cover design is all about adjusting and moving cover lines, so that way you get something that looks visually effective, dynamic, and pleasing to the eyes. It's a play of colors and sizes. So here we have the 100, and I'm going to leave space down here for the barcode, and that usually gets added by the printer. Let's duplicate these cover lines and add some text. So plus 100 best beauty items. And I want to make this the same height as the number. So I'll just make this slightly smaller. You can do that by pressing Shift, Command, and resize it. Okay, so I'm going to just group these to make sure that nothing moves. And now let's work on the right side. So again, I'll add a small descriptive line at the top and some punchy words at the bottom that can be a little bit bigger. So to call for attention. I'll move this a little bit lower just so the name of the subject is more prominent. I'll add another cover line down here. And here I'll play more with the styles of the font, just because the font offers so many styles. We can play with the medium and the bold. And leave this just in the same size, because it is not as important as the other elements. And then something a little bit smaller at the bottom. And that will create balance. Now let's say that this first cover line on the right side is related to the second cover line. And using the pen tool, I want to add an arrow. So let's hold that here. I want to make this arrow white, so eliminate the color and make the stroke white or paper. Let's open the stroke panel. If you don't have it open, head over to Window, Stroke, and here change the end arrowhead to simple. So it doesn't look just like a random line. It is actually an arrow leading to somewhere else. Here I just want to adjust a little bit the point to make it a bit of a smoother line. Press A to move a single point. There we go. And adjust it until you're happy with the smoothness of the line. Here I want to add a CTA or call to action. And by doing that, we're going to direct the viewer's eye into this specific point. So it has to be something to pull the viewer in and might want to make them buy the magazine. So using the circle option, create a circle that is about 36 millimeters. Let's move it behind the masthead. And we can add some text. So we can say new in fashion or new workout. So press R and rotate it just a little bit. And let's place it behind the masthead to create more depth. To add even more depth, we can add a little bit of a drop shadow to the name of the subject. So select the element, head over to Effects, Drop Shadow, and here we can play with the options. Just want something very subtle. Click OK. And I will do the same with the Love and Peace cover line, just because it looks like it's getting lost with the pattern of the dress. And we can make this one a little bit stronger just so it jumps out more. Perfect. Here I'll add a little space for the barcode, along with the country and the price of the magazine. And perfect, there you have it, a beautiful fashion magazine cover design. In the next lesson, we will design a sports magazine cover, something that is totally opposite from this. So I'll see you there. Hi there, welcome back to this course, Magazine Cover Design in InDesign. In this lesson, we will learn how to create a sports magazine cover, so that way you can see the differences of how to design a fashion magazine cover and a sports magazine cover. For this sports magazine cover, we will be using the same font that we use in the fashion magazine cover design. Let's not forget that we used Envato elements for the amazing assets to create these two magazine cover designs. Envato Elements offers more than just fonts and photos. They also have templates, graphic elements, videos, and with a single subscription, you have access to all of this. So let's get started designing our sports magazine cover. Here on my desktop, I have created a folder called Sports Magazine Cover, and I have already downloaded the image that we're going to be using. But first, I want to edit this in Photoshop. There are a couple of things that I already know what I want to do with this magazine cover. And one of them is create a juxtaposition with a masthead. For that, we need to close crop the image, and I also want to turn the image into a black and white image. So to close crop, we need to head over to the Layers panel, duplicate the layer by pressing Command J, or by dragging the layer into the New Layer button. To close crop, we need to add a mask. So click on the mask. Now, in order to create this, make sure that you're using the brush instead of the eraser tool. So that way with the brush, you can correct the close cropping. And make sure that you have black set as the foreground color. So I'll use a big brush here so that way I can get rid of the bigger parts. Use the backslash to bring up the little pink or red background here. That is super useful when you're trying to close crop an image so that way you know where you're going. And here I know that I want to use the top left corner of the image. To work on the details, I'll make the brush smaller, and you can do that by pressing the brackets button. Opening brackets will make the brush bigger, and the closing brackets will make it smaller. You can also use Shift when you click on a point to make straight lines. And for me, this is perfect because I can create these little straight lines around a rounded object. As long as there are smaller strokes, the straight lines won't really be noticeable. So again, it's perfect for close cropping. So I'll go and do this all around the specific part of the image that I know I will be using. And now I'll do the inside. And now I want to turn the image into a black and white image. So add a new adjustment layer, black and white. We can see that there. And I'll add a brightness and contrast layer just to bring up those highlights. So we have everything we need here. And let's leave the background image unseen. So let's save as Sports Magazine. We want to save it as a Photoshop file. And let's add close crop here. So click OK. Let's make sure we have our file here. Perfect. Let's head over to InDesign. Click on Create New. We want an A4 size cover. Change this to millimeters. Set the margins to 12 millimeters. And the bleeds to 3. And that's it. The only thing that I want to change here is facing pages. We don't need that since all we're doing is designing a cover. So click on Create. We have our file set up. So we have the bleeds, the margins, and now I want to set up the layers panel. I'll add 5 layers and rename each one with background, masthead, image, cover lines, and stroke. Select the image layer and drag in the image that we just worked on, the PSD file. Click on the page to add it. And here I just want to roughly position the subject on the page and then trim the sizes to the bleed lines, just so we can keep a tidy file. Press A so you can have control of only the image and not the frame. And here I will just resize a little bit, move this around just slightly. Once I have the position of the image the way I want it, I want to copy and paste this to create sort of a sandwich between the masthead. So copy, paste in place, select that one image that we just copied and send it to the background. So we'll have 2 images in 2 different layers and the masthead in between. So let's lock these 2, select the masthead, and I want to add it just right here at the top left corner of the cover. Let's add a couple of colors here. I am looking for something a little bit between cyan and green. This looks nice. Click OK. Let's add another color. And now I am looking for something a little bit gold. Let's bump up the yellow and the black a little bit more. Click OK. That's perfect. And last, I'll add a red. Now we have the color palette for our sports magazine cover. Here I'll take the stroke out. And for the masthead, I want to use this turquoise. So my magazine is named Push with an exclamation point at the end. And let's use Zoom Cut in extra bold. Let's set it to 200 points, and I'm just setting a baseline because I want to maybe resize this after. Set the letter spacing to 50. Press R to rotate. So already we're creating some kind of dynamic in this magazine design cover compared to the fashion cover. So let's line this up here. Perfect. Now I want to create a space for the date and the website. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Add a date. Change the style to semi-bold, 11 points, and black. And since this is very small, let's add some letter spacing. That will make it readable. So that's on the masthead. Let's lock that layer and head over to cover lines. So here I want to occupy all of the right space of the cover, and let's say almost like dividing it into 3 columns. So that way the player is overlapped over the masthead, but then the cover lines are over the player. Let's grab a guide from our ruler and set it to 149 millimeters. I think that's a good amount of space for the cover lines. And then let's unlock the image layer and move the player a little bit to the left. Perfect. So let's start here. It will create cover lines all along this column. Let's start with a rectangle about 6 millimeters in height, and make sure that you're using the guide to guide yourself for all of the elements that we will create here. Let's set this to black. Let's start with the first cover line. We'll be using the same font, Zoom Cut, because it just contains such a wide variety of styles. And again, this is a play of colors, sizes, and styles. That's how you can make cover lines a lot more interesting. So let's set the to semi-bold, 20 points, and add some letter spacing. Now there's no right and wrong here, as long as it makes sense visually. So for instance, the next word for me will be dream. Extra bold, 70 points. We'll make the frame a little bit bigger so we can see what's happening. I'll take the letter spacing altogether. So again, there's no right or wrong as long as it makes sense visually. And there is a purpose to all of this. So for example, dream, I made dream bigger because I want that word to pop more than the. I'll make this one smaller. And using the line tool, I'll create a stroke here. I'll set it to black, 0.5 points. And I'll duplicate this twice to have 3. And I'll roughly center this to the word. I want to make sure that this is not past the guides, and duplicate it towards the right as well. Here I'll add to the top. I'll change the style to semi-bold to add less prominence. Duplicate the element at the top, and I'll juxtapose this with some text. I'll change the text to a different color and edit the letter spacing so everything fits in there. And we can roughly center the 2 elements. I'll duplicate the element at the top again. So that's the end of this one cover line. And now we can edit the color. So since I want dream to pop, I'll change that to red. Press J if you want to change the color of the text. And then I want to change the color of the background here. Perfect. Let's duplicate this again to add the second cover line. And here what I want to do is, instead of aligning to the center, I want to align to the right. Take the line spacing. There's a little bit of white space here, so I want to change this to 13.5 to occupy as much of the space as possible. There. We can add another special feature here. So let's say plus 100. The plus, we can make it a different color. And let's blow this up. And let's make sure that it's aligning as much as possible, either to the left or to the right, but as long as it's aligning to something. That way it will make more sense. So let's add here player's profile and add some letter spacing so it's scattered with the width. Let's close this specific cover line. And next I want to create something a little bit different. I want to work with a background, so I'll make this longer and change the color to the gold swatch that we worked on before. And I'll add some text. Duplicate the text frame. For the cover lines, try to choose words that are enticing and that will attract the viewers. So here we have big thing. I want to align this to the right. And I want to add the next at the beginning. Let's see what's happening here. Let's set the size to 48. Take the line spacing. And I want the next to be the same height as the word big. That's what cover lines are, individual compositions. And you have to create and make them as interesting as possible. So here I'll change the color to black and thing in white. And down here I can add just a few descriptive words. Duplicate the text frame. And here I just want to break the lines and move and align this to the G on the right side. Let's duplicate the black rectangle, which is how we open and close cover lines. And let's create something here at the bottom. For this, I want to have an arrow. Let's change the fill to none and the stroke to red. Open the stroke panel and set the end stroke to triangle. And set the stroke to something big. So for instance, here I'll set it to 30 points, and you can play around by selecting the individual points with the selection tool. I want to align this to the center. Duplicate the text frame and let's add plus. Let's use a bigger font. Align to the center. Let's make sure that this is the same width as the other elements, and that way it is aligned to everything. Set this to paper. Perfect. You can move and adapt things as you wish. So let's duplicate this element again. Let's set the background to black. And we put the plus in red because we want it to not get lost. So special report. And we will do the same as we did at the top with a little bit of a play with the words. So I have fit. And then get fit, stay fit. Let's move this up and resize it to fit the width of the column. Okay, perfect. So now all we have left is the bottom left of the cover. And here we will add just a couple more things. So let's do another play with the numbers. Plus 50. Extra light, because we want to make this really, really big. And then 50, let's set 50 to something smaller. And change that to medium. Press Shift and the arrow down so you can add more line spacing. And then Shift and the arrow left or right so you can take or add more letter spacing. Let's change the plus to red. And I just want to add just a few words here. And again, the same height as the numbers, so we can have a nice composition. Play around with the styles and just bring it up a little bit more so it's over the shoes. So that looks nice. And now let's add a call to action down here. And instead of having a circle, we'll add a multiple point star. So here, let's set the polygon width to 40, number of sides 30, start inset 50%, and there we have a perfect way to call attention to a call to action. So now we will add text on top of this. Let's duplicate the text frame, add some more text, and I want this to be centered. That's what makes the most sense when you have sort of a circular element containing text. So now I'll play with the different styles and the different sizes, just to make this a little bit more dynamic. So now we have that, and I want to rotate this just a little bit so it doesn't look the same as the rest of the cover line. So press R, rotate. Let's make our background element a little bit bigger. Let's move this so it's in line with the margin. Okay, that looks maybe too close, and now we're just going into the details. Awesome. And down here we will have room for the barcode that gets added by the printer. The only thing that's left to add is the country and the price. This is what our magazine is looking like right now, and it just needs a little bit of a containing element. It needs something heavy around the edges. So for that, we will add a stroke. So head over to the Layers panel, select the stroke layer. Using the rectangle tool, create a rectangle of about between 5 and 7 millimeters, and make sure that this rectangle is aligned with the bleed line. Now this rectangle will repeat on all 4 sides of the magazine. So let's extend this and duplicate it to the other side. And then for the top and the bottom, we just need to rotate it and resize it. And again, make sure that the rectangle is touching all of the bleed lines. To export the magazine for print, head over to File, Export. Set the format to Adobe PDF Print. I usually add print at the end to make sure that this is the file that I'm sending to the printing house. Click Save. We have Adobe PDF preset high quality. Head over to Marks and Bleed and check all printers marks and use document bleed settings. Click Export. Head over to the folder where you saved the file and make sure that it's exported correctly. So here we have our crop marks and bleed marks, and it's ready to be sent to print. So perfect. So we have 2 different styles of magazine covers. We have a fashion magazine cover and a sports magazine cover. And you can see the differences between these 2. The fashion magazine cover is light and airy, uses the same font zoom, but also uses Roger Leviana, which is a serif font. So it adds an element of fashion, high-end magazine, a little bit more feminine, and it's a little bit more discreet, as opposed to the sports magazine cover that we rotated the masthead and we're juxtaposing a lot of the elements, the cover lines, and the image along with the masthead to create something more dynamic. We also used the style of the font zoom a lot and changed the sizes and the colors of each of the cover lines. We used assets from Envato elements to bring together these 2 different covers. So with a single subscription, you can find fonts, templates, photos, graphics, videos, anything that you need to bring together a project like this really easy. In the next video, we will do a recap of the lessons and everything we covered for designing a ready-to-print magazine cover. So we'll see you there. Hi there, and welcome back to the last chapter of this course, Magazine Cover Design in InDesign. Designing a magazine cover is crucial when you need to attract the right audience and drive up sales. In this course, you'll learn everything you need to know in order to create an effective and visually pleasing magazine cover design. We started off with how to choose the right fonts and compelling images. We used the magazine cover template from Envato Elements to show you how easy and quick it is to customize a template. We created 2 different magazine covers to show you the different styles and fonts and images that can be used. And last, we show you how to export the magazine cover design for print. Magazine cover designs have been making history for decades, and while print may be going out, magazine covers are still relevant in digital media. Now you know all the tools that you need to confidently create your own magazine cover. My name is Laura Kyung, and from all of us at Envato, we hope you enjoyed this course and we'll see you on the next one.